Have you ever wondered how Cain, one of the first sons of Adam and Eve, could have found a wife and had a child? If Adam and Eve were the only parents of humanity, this mystery might seem puzzling. However, by delving into the nuances of the Bible, we find fascinating answers that can shed light on this apparent mystery. In this video, we will uncover the answer, and you can be sure it will surprise you. So, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and let's dive into the video. The creation of Adam and Eve is one of the most significant events in the biblical narrative, marking the beginning of humanity. According to the account in Genesis, God created Adam from the dust of the ground and gave him life by breathing into his nostrils. Then, God made Eve from one of Adam's ribs. After the creation of Adam and Eve and their establishment in the Garden of Eden, they began to have children. Among their children were Cain and Abel, two brothers who grew up in a world that, although marked by the purity of the initial creation, was about to face its first trials and challenges. The Bible tells us that over time, both brothers decided to bring offerings to God as an expression of worship and gratitude. Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering, while Abel presented the best of his flock, offering the fatty and most valuable portions of the sheep. This act of devotion was done with a sincere heart, reflecting Abel's excellence and dedication to God. However, the Lord looked favorably on Abel's offering, but did not accept Cain's offering. The exact reason for this difference is not detailed in the Bible, but it is interpreted as a matter of attitude and the quality of the gift offered. Abel's offering was considered more significant because he had given the best of what he had, while Cain's offering was not as distinguished. This acceptance and rejection of the offerings led to deep discontent and anger in Cain. Feeling frustrated and demoralized, Cain not only became downcast, but his anger turned into envy and resentment toward his brother Abel. God perceived Cain's emotional turmoil and warned him about the danger that his feelings of anger represented. God cautioned him that sin was crouching at the door and that Cain needed to master his emotions to avoid falling into temptation. This divine warning was meant to prevent Cain from giving in to sin, offering him an opportunity for repentance and change. Challenged by anger and envy, Cain invited Abel to go out into the field. In the isolated environment, away from the presence of others, the tension between the brothers escalated. Cain, consumed by rage and jealousy, attacked Abel, killing him brutally. This act of violence marked the first recorded death in human history and brought a new dimension of sin and suffering into the world created by God. After the murder, God confronted Cain and asked about Abel's whereabouts. Cain, attempting to conceal his crime, responded indifferently, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" God, knowing the truth, revealed to Cain the consequences of his action. He would be cursed and become a wanderer on the earth, unable to cultivate the land that had once been his livelihood. Cain's curse was twofold. He would have to face a life of wandering, and the land would no longer yield the fruits he had once successfully cultivated. The life of a farmer that Cain knew was now ruined. Cain's response to God's curse reveals his anguish and fear for the future. He expressed concern that he would be destined to wander aimlessly and without protection, fearing that someone might find him and seek revenge for Abel's death. In response to Cain's concern, God placed a mark on him. This mark was intended to protect Cain from any vengeance that might be sought against him. Although the mark of Cain is not described in detail in the Bible, it served to ensure that he would not be killed by others, even in the face of his curse. After this interaction with God, Cain left the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. The Bible then mentions that Cain knew his wife, with whom he had a son, Enoch. Additionally, the verse highlights that Cain built a city and named it after his son, Enoch. The construction of the city is a significant milestone in the narrative, representing the beginning of the establishment of human communities. However, this is where doubts begin to arise. The text does not provide explicit details about how or whom Cain met as his wife. In verse 17, we only have the information that Cain knew his wife. The possibility of other human beings existing at the time of Cain, beyond Adam, Eve, Cain and Abel, is an interpretation that seeks to fill gaps in the biblical narrative and address questions related to the expansion of the human population. Cain's fear of being killed by others and God's mark, as described in the Bible, are aspects that raise significant questions about the presence of other human beings besides Adam and Eve. In Genesis 4:14, Cain says, "Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me." This fear is intriguing because it seems to indicate the existence of a population significant enough for Cain to be concerned about the possibility of being found and punished by a group of individuals. In the next verse, the Bible states, "And the Lord said unto him, Therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him." These pieces of evidence help us understand that, within the context of the biblical narrative, the earth may have already been inhabited by a broader population beyond Adam and Eve's family. Cain's concern about being found and the divine intervention to protect him suggest a human presence beyond the central characters of the story, indicating a significant and dispersed population that coexisted with the primordial family. One of the less accepted interpretations suggests that, in addition to Adam and Eve's family, God might have created other human beings independently. Proponents of this theory argue that to explain the rapid multiplication of the human population described in the Bible, a significant number of individuals would be necessary, something difficult to achieve solely with the sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. This interpretation seeks to reconcile the biblical narrative with archaeological and anthropological evidence indicating the presence of more extensive human communities in ancient times.